Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new edition of the Triple Trio, our weekly look at all things Hong Kong racing, and also through the Whirlpool have a little glance at the global scene as well, with the best form analyst in the business is that guy and the Hall of Famer in that guy. Looking forward to it's going to be a huge show. Hello, Hutch.
Hello, Richo. Fantastic time of year. Yeah, we've got the Whirlpool meeting, of course. We've got a number of races from Randwick and South Africa. So big meeting last weekend for the Whirlpool and the Sprint Cup in Hong Kong, Chairman's Trophy, Jamie Kah. It's all happening on the show.
It's going to be an absolute beauty. We need the Golden Boy in. Hello, Golden Boy. How are you?
Hello, mate. I'm well. Nice to have you back, Richo. We really missed you last week and we gave you so many compliments while you were away.
My ears were burning. By gee, you were that happy to trade me in, weren't you? But don't worry, I've got a long memory.
I see you tipped the winner of the stall gift on TV.
Yeah, it wasn't hard to find him. He probably should have been off about 6.5 and he had 9.5. So the runner-up was absolutely superb. He's a big fan of the show in Jake Island, so he just missed by 0.01 on a wet track coming from the back. But, hey, we've got so much to talk about, a huge show coming up. You've already touched all the key highlights, Hutch, including Group 2 racing coming up. And believe it or not, Golden Boy, I believe you've turned things around at the moment with your best bets. You're starting to get on a roll.
If you tip odds-on chances or even money, eventually one's got to win and not get a bad ride or be unlucky. So he went straight to the front and he won. So luckily I got one.
I believe
you're like this. Last Saturday, I do my selection. 7 out of the 10 won and I lost. Wednesday night, I think I had one winner out of the 8 races on the dirt, and I won a fortune Wednesday night. So work that one out.
I won a fortune Wednesday night. If you don't...
Good on him.
Hey, it's good to be the king. Yeah. Apparently he's been in the editing room and he's prepared some highlights of himself.
I suppose Voyage Samurai. Now, he got beat by Patcha Theatre last start, and of course, he come out and won well on a Class 3 on the weekend. So the form around's him very good.
Voyage Samurai's doing enough from War of Courage. It's going to be close for third, but Voyage Samurai too good for War of Courage.
Well, we had JD Hayes on the program. I'll have to get him to make a call to Dad because I think David can win the opening race with Zach Purton and Young Horizon.
Young Horizon with a goodly lead. He's out by about 2.5 lengths. It's a winning lead, and Young Horizon has won. Out wide is Montefruta. Robot Knight in front. Solid Charla claims him. Montefruta with a drive. It might be the Fruta. Sing Dragon, the rail lifting. Leads at a neck over victory moments. They're well clear. Sing Dragon. Teton getting everything out of him. And Sing Dragon.
Oh, at times it is good to be the king, isn't it? And there was a few blowing the little smoke cigar after having a little drag on the cigar after that.
Yeah,
well played.
It was a dirt meeting during the week, of course, and sparingly played, but a couple of nice results. I think that horse for Tony Cruz actually shown in Montefruta looks like he'll probably... Yeah. I know the margin wasn't great, but it was a very good win.
Gave it a good ride. He's riding well, that kid, Clint. I keep saying it, but whether he leads on them or comes from back, he seems to do the right thing through a race.
Let's burst out of the gates with all the latest news. And we burst out of the gates with great news for Hong Kong racing and also for Brenton Abdallah. California Spangle, he has got the absolute best out. He sprinkled the love dust on him and this horse is flying. He goes to Dubai and wins the Group 1 Alquoz Sprint brilliantly.
Great moment for Hong Kong. They've had a bit of success in this race. Of course, Tony's brother won the race with a horse called Joy and Fun. Love the ride here, Shane. You know, he knows his horse well, and I thought, you know, he's ridden this horse very, very well, and as in being almost at his top for the majority of the race, using his asset in that sustained speed. Well done to Brenton, well done to Tony.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Great win, great ride. But it's just so good for Hong Kong that we can send a horse like that there and he participates, wins. He's racing so well again. He went off. He definitely went off, no matter what anyone says. He was underperforming, but he's got it back again, and we've seen his last 2 wins, what he can do when he's right.
An absolute bumper day for the Whirlpool as well. I mean, I think they covered, of course, a number of races in Australia, of course, and Dubai, but think 430 million, might have been 437, I think,
Wow,
Hong Kong.
million.
So it was a new record and a bumper day. So just really, I think when Hong Kong gets that representation somewhere else, makes a massive difference.
It doesn't
well.
adjust. And we saw that with Mr. Brightside being pretty short on the tote in Australia through the whirlpool when it came to the Australian Cup, because the Hong Kong punters betting into and following David Hayes' sons.
Yeah, absolutely. And even, Shane, there was the Sydney races last week. Somebody tipped a $58 winner in the whirlpool. There's only 41 on the fixed odds, but if you win in the whirlpool and you followed our man Richo, you got a big over.
So maybe the Hong Kong audience knows me well. That's why it drifted.
But someone was too busy to come on the show last Friday to tip it also, and he had to go on Channel 7 to tip it.
Well done anyway.
Hey, just on the Alcoa Sprint, I was really keen on California Spangle in that race because I don't know, Shane, if you've ridden in that race before in all of your incredible travels, but buffering, leading and winning. Last year, the Astrologist, who is a sort of a Group 2, Group 3 horse, he was right there on speed as well and just got pipped. And I was thinking, California Spangle down the straight there in the Alcoas, traditionally they don't make a lot of ground. He looked a really good bet.
He looked a great chance. And Shane, I suppose with Tony now, what do they do? Does he keep him back? Does he come back to the sprinting with him? Do they go back to the mile? Do they say, well, Lucky Sweynesse may or may not be at his best at the moment when we go back to Hong Kong? What do you think?
Well, he's got options. He'll work that one out. I wouldn't know what is best for him, to tell you the truth. He's more vulnerable at the 1600. There's no doubt about that. California, he's not going to beat Golden 60. He can't beat him. So probably the sprints, I would say. But if Lucky Sweynesse comes right, well, you probably can't beat him. So it's a tough one. But he's racing well.
Let's not forget as well, I mean, you look at your career and we talk about Hayless versus Black Caviar. In his generation, he's been taking on the likes of Romantic Warrior a lot, and he hasn't been beaten by that much. He's actually beaten Golden 60 under a fortuitous ride in that Hong Kong mile a couple of years ago. So he's a real talent, and it's like, well, where do you go with him? But also, let's not forget in the Derby, he nearly got the Derby over 2000. I mean, that's the calibre of a horse. I mean, he has been a fantastic horse. There's no doubt about that.
On speed, in the Jubilee race at Royal Ascot, up the hill, 1,200 metres there, perfect for him.
Yeah, no, it will be perfect. But I think reading what Tony said to the South China Morning Post online, he mentioned that Japan makes a bit more appeal in the Sprinter Stakes, purely from a stake money point of view. But the owners, they like the prestige, and I think, it'll be interesting to see which way they decide to go. I'd love to see him at Royal Ascot.
Oh, it'd be fantastic. And we'll have to go and get Top Hat and Tails and take the Golden Boy along as well. Flaming Rabbit had a win. Yeah,
nice performance. Well-rated rides this as well from Lyle Hewitson out in front. Shane, I don't think Mugen, we had price short. The market was the same way. I don't know if he got the mile, to be honest. I know Lyle rated this horse perfectly. There was rain about in the day, but he got a soft time of it. And I think just here, Mugen seemed to peak late. I don't think there were any excuses really for him.
No excuse. He was disappointing, but he doesn't run the mile, I don't think.
Yeah.
Like a horse like that, you see it often. They go 1,200, 14, they look stars, they sit back, they charge home. Shikatra or whatever its name is in Aussie. The horse of Casper Founds, Skyfield, he's another one. He won the international sprint. Looked as though he would run 14 to a mile, just couldn't. They don't. I see it all the time, and looks like that horse is the same. He's better off in sprints where he sits back and comes home in the 21 and a half and gets them late.
Yeah, Karis Teaton's riding really well. We've been talking so much about him lately.
Yeah, he's going well, Karis. He's ridden a number of good races, and he just keeps getting it done. Prosecco was well backed. I know a few of the riders say that it evens out when they put this false rail, and it's still the best place to be, the outside fence. Even though they move it across, it just probably not as pronounced as it is when the false rail's not there. But Prosecco deserved that win. Karis is in good form. He stuck with him, and the market got it right. Was really well backed.
It's amazing, that horse. Who would have ever thought 2 runs ago he would be a 1,000-metre horse? No one. He looked like a 1,400.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they run him up the straight. He should have won for sure 2 starts ago, went sensational. And then last start, of course, that run he wins. So it's amazing how you think a horse's distance isn't that, and then all of a sudden it is.
And then we're starting to see the training honours just shared a little bit at the moment across those 2 meetings at Sha Tin. A couple of winners for a number of trainers. including John Size, who's starting to emerge.
Yeah, John Size is. Francis Loy's really sort of booting home a few as well. Good win here from Smart Lead. He was part of our strategy last week. Lovely ride from DeMello. Zach, good ride here from Zach. He just stayed out of a lot of early pressure. Wet tracker, this horse. He'd been knocking on the door for a win, and he was pretty dominant there, but as you can see, the track was rain affected. And here's Karis once again, joyful champion, and a nice ride there, Shane, from Karis, who got it done.
He wants a gold medal. There was 2 horses that never win. He was one, and the other one was Super Joy.
Yeah.
Not Karis, someone else won on it.
Brenton must go with Brenton Avdulla.
Lovely ride from Brenton, and it was an important win, I think, for Brenton as well. He's getting good support, lately, and he's starting to capitalise on it. John Size giving him one. He's giving him some good rides again on the weekend as well. So, we mentioned Brenton Avdulla with his success with Tony. All of a sudden, if you can get those 2 powerhouses right behind you, in John Size and Tony Cruz, you're going to do very well. So things are looking up for the Australian.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Checking out the championships at the moment, and Zach Purton's off and away. Karis Teaton trails by 17 now and has gapped Huey Bowman by 18. So you could imagine first and second are locked in, and a little battle there for the bronze medal.
Yeah, there certainly is. And it was Matthew Chadwick, I think, that you were referring to earlier, Shane, just on that tour. Super Joy narrowly got there during the week. Matthew's going all right too.
Yeah, that's right. And Pierre Ong still holds the lead from a trainer's point of view. We had tragedy in Australia with an Italian-born jockey who had done so much riding in the UK. He came out to Australia only in recent months. He was riding for Annabelle Neesham, Stefano Cerchi, who passed away. It is just so tragic, Shane. And yet again, a reminder about how brave you and all of your fellow jockeys have been and are at the moment. It is such a dangerous sport.
It's a very dangerous sport. It's terrible, but it's part of it. And I never once took it for granted. I always knew every time I was in a race, that could be the end of my life. It's part of the job. You don't get many sports in the world where an ambulance follows you constantly.
Let's have a look who jumps into the Black Book file. Sweet in defeat.
They're off, and Sugar missed the start by 4 lengths. Then Dublin Star, Sugar Fast Buck, Smart Leader. Oversubscribed, lunges at the post, missed. Sugar, that's a sweet win for Alfie Chad.
Our Black Booker is called Sweet in Defeat. Who jumps in, Hunt?
Not as many this week, Richo, with, of course, an all-weather meeting and a wet track on the weekend, but there were some good runs. I thought that Daring Pursuit was good when wide. Noble Win will get a drop in class following his latest effort, and I think if he can hold his recent form, he'll go close. Triumphant Warrior over-raced a bit, covered a lot of ground on the all-weather during the week, and there was some merit to that performance. He's going to need to get things right. But I thought this was a good run, Shane, from Daring Pursuit for Casper Founds. Look, the horse was fresh up. He's got a lot of upside. It was only his 3rd career start and first of this preparation. There was good pace. He was facing the breeze the whole way, and he actually ran very, very well, I thought, under the circumstances. So I'm happy to stick with him. He'll be a bit fitter next time.
Well, he hadn't run for 14 months, I think, Clint, which is a long time. It was a really good run. When he won last season, he looked really good winning. Both his runs were very good, so he's going to go to class, up a couple of classes, you would think, very quickly.
Yeah, nice performance there. And
covered ground. He was entitled to get tired, wasn't he?
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise winner, in inverted commas, for Francis Loy, who just keeps chipping away, Francis. And yeah, it's a nice performance from Lucky Gold.
Okay, so 3 new members of the SID file. Genius or...
Leander Cross answering the urgings of Shane Dye. Mannerism coming at him. Mannerism has got it. Daring tactics by Shane Dye. He's got Octagonal in full flight on the corner. Bold tactics by Shane Dye are going to pay off, and he pinches the Chipping Norton.
This is the moment for all the Hong Kong jockeys to sit up and take notice. The Hall of Fame has cast his eye over all the rides during the last week. Golden Boy, who was the genius ride?
This was a really good ride from Ben Thompson on Forever Folks. You watch this. He jumps, he goes midfield. I want to point out a couple of things. I want to point out...
So is he the red cap? Is he the red cap inside and the yellow
back?
Yep.
Now, watch the horse in front of him. It should have won, which was Giovanni. He's on the fence there coming up after the bend. He follows him. If the kid on that stays on the fence, he wins for sure. So we'll forward it down the back here. That's the winner there in the red cap. But follow this horse in front, Giovanni. And this is what happens when you come off the fence. And it's actually not the kid's fault because they went really fast and they were going to stop. But if he had waited a touch longer, he wins for sure. So he comes off here. Ben stays on the fence, but this horse comes out. Now have a look how far out he's come. He's got to come out on Giovanni. Now, if we have a look at the straight, look where Ben is. He saved 4 lengths. Look where Giovanni was. He lost 3 lengths. That's the difference between winning and losing, and watch him get home. And it wasn't wrong that the kid come off because they were going too fast and they were going to stop and he was looking for him. But that's what happened. If you can just be a little bit more patient. Second horse should have won easy. There's no risk. If he stays there, he wins by a length and a half.
Just a little unfortunate, like as he made that decision. And you can understand what Shane said.
Yeah, well, because the tempo dropped out. He was sort of getting on heels, Shane, so he got off their heels and just popped off the fence.
Give himself more room. It wasn't a mistake, but that's the difference. If you can show a little bit more patience and say, right, I'm going to gamble here, right? And I'll tell you who's doing it now, Zach. He's gambling more in races staying inside than coming out. And he did it on Superb Boy, gave it a great ride. There was no room where he was the whole race, and he stayed in, and he's starting to do it more now. And it's the difference between winning and losing in Hong Kong because the horses are so even, Richo. Yeah. There's nothing between them because of the rating system.
No, I think you've summed it up beautifully. And that's why your analysis of the rides, Golden, are so important because there is literally, a length between so many of these horses. That's what we love about Hong Kong racing, how competitive it is. But it's also the ultimate test for the jockeys, isn't it? Because if they nail it, then they get rewarded. And if they miss by a little, then, you just saw a great example of that.
But as I keep saying, if someone doesn't get a run, I never complain because that's always going to happen. But you're going to ride percentages, more winners than losers over a season if you ride like that. It's just a fact, Richard.
Yeah, and well done to young Benny Thompson as well. He's been riding a lot of horses at big prices. It was good to see him have his third winner in the stint. I think he goes at this point in time till the end of April, and hopefully that gives him a bit of momentum. But good to see him have a win.
Clint, here's a good stat. He's had 97 rides for only 3 winners, which is nothing wrong with that because he hasn't been getting good rides. But if you have a $10 bet on him every ride, the 97, you're showing a good profit.
Oh, wow.
With only 3 winners. So it shows you how big a price his horses are, and he's not getting favourable rides. So he's done well.
Yeah. Any slaughters this week, Golden?
Nah, not really. There was a lot of good rides. You'll put them up here soon, I'm sure of it. We'll go through them.
I would have thought the biggest slaughter was Hutchi missing my hand in the high five after the Hong Kong Derby and he whacking me in the eye. Surely that...
I don't have a lot of good luck with you.
Surely that was a slaughter where I had a hand up a long way out just like this. He misses it and whacks me in the eye.
Wasn't the best shot.
You need to practice it.
I can't believe that didn't make its way through to Get On and get some votes for that.
Yeah, I probably will.
Yeah, well, it's disappointing. Let's have a look at the scores for, of course, racing's highest individual honour, the Mighty Idol, Shane.
Okay, so I gave Ben 3 points. I thought these 2 rides here were really good, Montefruta and Fantrack, because he went fast on him early on Fantrack, and then he backed the pace off. When you go fast early, you got to back the pace off at some stage. When you go slow early, you pick it up from the 1,000 metres, right, to 800 metres, and you let them rip. But when you go too quick early, you have to come back at the half mile a little bit to have a breather, and he did, and he won. Montefruta was a really good ride. He was back and coming to it. Zach's ridden a couple of winners, but Superb Kid, he had no room where he was and he kept forcing inside runs. Teeden's riding well, and anyone who can win on Joyful Champion deserves a couple of points, and he's done nothing wrong. A point for Chadwick on Super Joy, anyone who can win from him. And this was a good ride from Keith on...
Unicorn.
Unicorn. I actually backed it on Wednesday night. He was back last, but he just tracked into the race. He didn't spend any petrol at any time. And he come into the race at the right time, and it was a good ride for a horse who was always going to get back from gate 13.
Quick question for you as well, Shane. You sort of alluded to it a little bit there with one of the horses in terms of Joyful Champion, not getting a win. When you were riding, Did you have many horses that didn't really attack the line or didn't want to win, get their head in front?
Oh, yeah. I got suspended once in Mauritius on one, and I gave it every chance, and they said I pulled it up because I didn't push it out at the 200 metres and something beat me 3 lengths, right? If you got to the front, what was his name? Hold Me Something, right? And if you got to the front too soon, he would stop, and at the 200 I'm like this, and I knew as soon as and something come and went past me, well, I let him go. He did nothing. But they gave me time because they said I should have got going. I said, well, next time give me life, because when I ride it next time, I'm going to be 10 times worse than that.
Yeah.
Right? So I blew up like anything, actually left there, and because they didn't understand. And so next time I rode him, he won by a head, and I was like this on him at the 100 metres. And at the line, I just went boom, and he won by a head. I knew what he was like. So there was a lot of horses, yes. I'll tell you a good one who didn't want to win was Encounter.
Oh,
he was
really?
a superstar. He did not want to win. He's probably one of the hardest horses I've ever had to ride, right? You had to time your run correctly on him, and he was a very funny horse to ride that. You just had to get there at the right time. And of course, he cost himself a golden slipper running away from the whip that year.
And what is it, Shane? They hit the front and then they think their job's done. They're
herd animals.
Yeah.
They like to run with the others.
Yeah. They like to follow a horse, track a horse. You know. See, then you get a horse like Octagonal. He just had to chase a horse. When he was chasing, oh my God, there was no way that horse was going to beat him. He had to get past it. Every horse is an individual, just like humans, no doubt, and they've all got their vices.
And what are you, Richo? Are you a chaser or are you
Mate, I was a chaser and a catcher.
Pin the ears back and go.
Cut one from the herder. That was a long time ago. Hey, let's have a look at the leaderboard now for racing's highest individual honour. Shane, I've got to say it. I'm looking, it's week 26. I think Zach's home. I think Zach is home.
Oh. Early call.
I don't know if Huey Bowman rides anymore, does he? Every time I look at a race meeting, he doesn't have
He's riding big time on Sunday.
I know he's back, which is great to see. He's been out so much the last 2 months, as we all know. So he's a bit behind the 8 ball because of it. But no, Zach looks like he's probably going to win. But he's had a funny season, Zach, but I honestly believe he's riding pretty well now. I didn't originally, and he's going good, and he will only get better from here.
And could you imagine, we've had so many interviews with the magnificent Nicole sitting in front of the trophy cabinet. How magnificent will the idol be in amongst it?
Get those international cups out of the way.
No, just let Shane's little bobblehead be sitting right in the middle of them.
That'll make Zach feel really good.
Absolute beauty. A great edition of Genius or Slaughter, and of course for the Idol. And speaking of Nicole Purton's been busy again for us, and this time catching up with some really important members of the racing fraternity, the barrier attendants.
Horse racing in Hong Kong, like every other jurisdiction, relies on highly skilled horsemen and women. The Jockey Club's head starter, Tony Speechley, and his deputy, Chris McMullen, have a team whose goal is to manage the Hong Kong horse population as they trial and race. I'm going to spend the morning with these unsung heroes of Hong Kong racing.
My role, Nicole's head starter of the Jockey Club, so basically my biggest job is starting the race.
My role on race day is to the best of my ability, ensure the horse is loaded quickly, safely, try organise personnel to facilitate that.
I have 30 barrier attendants under my care on race day. I'm also in charge of the lead horses and the riders, and everything to do with the actual race.
On trial days, it's much the same. But probably my main role is the education and re-education of horses at the barriers, and specifically problem horses. So fixing horses that are difficult to load and horses that don't like standing there and are fractious, try remedy those problems.
Tony, how well do you know each horse in Hong Kong?
Well, I think we know them pretty well, but there's 1,200 horses, so Of course, it's impossible to remember everyone off the top of your head, but we have a computer system where every horse that we see, barrier trials, barrier practice, we make comments whether they need a hold in the gates, they need a tail, they need a blindfold. So we have all that information stored. And when the race day comes, we print all this out, and that's how we determine our loading order on a race day.
Starter Mr. Tony Speechley says, let's go home, they're racing.
And can you talk me through your process from the moment the horses enter the barriers to the release?
Normally I'll watch the first few horses load, and then I'll walk to the rostrum, and I'll get there probably with half the horses loaded. Basically every race we know which are the bad horses in the race, so that's my main focus, but they'll come in last. So I'm just watching all the other horses before there. I'm talking to Critter, my deputy starter. He's telling me what's happening from behind the gate. But once that last horse gets in, I'm wanting to start as soon as possible. As soon as I get the all clear from behind, that's when I'm looking to start the race.
The crowd is ready. The starter is ready. The horses are ready and they're racing.
When you can hear the jockeys calling, which we often can on live TV, how does that affect your decision making as to when to press the button to go?
Everything's very tense at the start of the race, so there's a lot of chatter, there's a lot of calling, and of course it gets my attention. Some people call more than others, so sometimes you know when that person's calling, it mightn't be too major, the problem. But when you hear a voice of someone that doesn't often call out to you, that attracts your attention more because you know there must be a problem there. So of course I'm always mindful of somebody calling out, but at the end of the day I have to make a decision whether I think it's worthy of holding for longer or affecting the start.
How important for the horses and jockeys are the barrier boys?
I think they're very important because our number one thing that we want at the start is safety. Safety for jockeys, safety for horses, safety for staff.
They're absolutely imperative. We're very lucky we've got a strong, robust team here at the moment. It's very unlike somewhere like Australia where you have dedicated barrier attendants on it, and it can be quite big lads, whereas we have to draw from the pool of work riders here. Been lucky enough to build up a team of lads over the years, and we're working with horses in often unpredictable circumstances.
You know, the jockeys, they want to relax on the horses in there, they want to give them plenty of rein, but if a horse is to suddenly rear or put its head down, it's so difficult for them to handle the horse by themselves. So if they've got an attendant in the gate, they've got an extra hand.
We're working with jockeys who have different characteristics and whatnot, so we've got to marry those things with horses, attendants and jockeys all together. Look, it's a multi-million-dollar business, it's not lie, and all the jockeys want to have the best start that they possibly can, and our attendants are there to the best of their ability ensure safety and to ensure that everyone gets as good a start as can be reasonably expected.
What's a good day at the office for you and the team?
Nobody getting hurt, no jockey, horse, staff being hurt, no withdrawals. Everybody goes home happy.
A great day is when we don't get noticed, when there's absolutely no comments about what's happening at the gates. That's a great day for us. When things are going smoothly, nobody notices us, and that to us is a perfect day.
They are incredible, aren't they, the barrier attendants? Shane, you know firsthand better than anyone how important they are.
They do not get enough credit, the barrier staff. I was always appreciative of them. I always looked after them. I knew how important they are. They save jockeys' lives and injuries. But not only that, they can get your horse out very fast at times when it's playing up, which you couldn't do. No, they're underrated and don't get enough credit for what they do.
Beautifully said. Let's move to global racing. Global racing look, and the Whirlpool had a wonderful last Saturday, and Hutch, you've touched on the turnover figures and they're absolutely incredible, aren't they? $437.4 million of Hong Kong dollars of Whirlpool turnover.
Yeah. terrific day, and highlighted by the Dubai meeting as well, with the 8 races from there and that Hong Kong presence. So it's just growing all the time, and long may it continue. It can only get bigger and better.
We were lucky enough to be at Flemington, and I was working for Channel 7, and we morphed over to the great racing in Sydney. Well, Shane, this is about as good a ride as you get from Ben Melham, and also from Declan Bates on the runner-up. They both rode their horses superbly, but the old 9-year-old Cascadian was fantastic.
It was a great ride. Back last on the fence, saved ground, and just weaved his way through and got up there the last 2 strides. It was actually a great race. I loved watching it. That race there was far better than the Sydney race, Richo.
Oh, no doubting it. I mean, in this race...
And well done, Richo. This was your $58 win on the Whirlpool.
Well, if you don't mind, that's why I put it in the... I've been in the editing room. Look at old Calipour. They're fighting on strongly, just defeating more felons there. And then we rolled over to the Dubai World Cup. I mean, Laurel River, what a win this. Have you seen a bigger margin than this?
You can get big margins on the dirt. But
at Group 1 level, in a race like this?
Yeah, certainly an impressive performance. And it is always just one of the highlights of the year, Dubai. I love the fact that you get, the horses from Japan. They will certainly target it. A lot of the Europeans go. Yeah. And then Hong Kong, we just probably need a little bit more representation from down here, but it does clash, I suppose, a little bit with, the Autumn Carnival. Unfortunately.
Well, we've had horses go to the Alquois Sprint, and Buffering was good enough to win, and Hortensia was good enough to win, and last year the Astrologist ran 3rd. We need, and Sunline and Elvstrom famously, they went over there and were victorious. But yes, you do have to give up the riches in Australia at this time of the year, which is a big commitment.
It is a big commitment, but, just the whole meeting as a collective, I love, and I've mentioned it already, Shane, but when you get that Hong Kong representation, and from that world point of view, I think it only really gets bigger. And the world these days, we're all becoming more accustomed with form from different jurisdictions. So, we see and we get access to a lot more information with horses in England or Australia. So it's becoming smaller and smaller all the time.
Yeah.
The only way it's not becoming smaller is Australia, because our quarantine system doesn't allow it. Would you agree with that, Richo?
Yeah.
You have a look at Japan horses going to Hong Kong, Dubai, or European horses going to Dubai. It's so easy to travel, but our quarantine system doesn't allow that to happen.
Well, what it makes it's a lot easier to travel to Sydney. Let's be brutally honest about that, Shane. And we've seen, William Haggis, for example, bring horses to Sydney, quarantine in Canterbury. Why I say it's a little easier is that they don't have to go through these, the very tough vet protocols that you have to do to come to Victoria, which we know Romantic Warrior had to go through, and he still won the Cox Plate.
And talking of Dubai Honour, of course, they have highlighted William Haggis, that he'll be racing in Hong Kong, of course, taking on Romantic Warrior again in the QE2. So that is going to be an absolute beauty.
Whirlpool races this Saturday at Royal Randwick for one of the great days. There's nothing quite like Derby Day, Shane. You're the most successful jockey in history in the sires. The TJ probably wasn't around as a Group 1 race when you were riding. The Doncaster, tough to win, and then you've got a Derby on your CV as well. What a great day that is.
It's a fantastic day's racing, one of the best all year, of course. I think the sires, I won about 6 of them.
You did?
I didn't have that many rides in them, actually. Doncaster, I won 2. I won one for Mike Willesee when I was about a 19-year-old kid, just come over here from New Zealand, which was a big thrill in those days for Mike, because he had his own TV show, if you remember then, Richard.
Yeah, no, I certainly do. And then he had a stud farm, Stud Farm that they'd called it, Media World, I think, from the top of my head. No, that's right, Magic Flute was her name, and she was an absolute beauty. 3-year-old fillies, hard to win at Doncaster. Huge field. I mean, that's the unofficial 5th Australian.
He won 6, Shane. I mean, that's amazing.
6 sires.
Did you know, you might not know this, but Shane only rode here for 13 years as well, so it's a pretty good record. 90-something Group 1s, 13 years.
Well, 89 in Australia and 3 overseas, mate. Yeah. 92 on his unbelievable CV. Same amount of Group 1s as James McDonald, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to go way past me. He's a far better rider than I ever was.
I think he took the bait.
James is a superstar. He's outstanding,
Yep.
but he's riding in an era where there's no superstars. Simple as that.
Written and authorised by Raymond Shane Dye. God bloody love you. Hey, and then on Saturday, after a great day at Randwick, and fingers crossed the rain deluge doesn't arrive, we roll into Group 1 racing at Turf on
It's so good. So 8 races from Sydney, 4 from South Africa, and these are the times according to Australian Eastern Standard Time.
Remember last year where we had who did we have
Lyle?
on? Did we have Lyle who just tipped up a storm for us over in? I think it was in Kenilworth at that stage at the Cape meeting.
Yes, it might have been the July
Cup or the Cape meeting, whatever it was. He was absolutely outstanding.
Welcome
So
to July.
Group 1 racing in South Africa as well. We've got a very special guest coming up, Star Power. Our Star Power guest is the biggest name in Australian racing. Her name is Jamie Kah. She is in incredible form at the moment. Jamie, thanks for joining the show as you get ready to race at Royal Randwick on a wet day for Doncaster Day. You've already won one of those. You must be looking forward to it.
Yes, I am looking forward to it. Really looking forward to this horse, another Will. He's just I think I've said it many times, but he's a freak. And I'm, really excited about riding him.
And we get excited when we hear you say that. He is a freak. Now, a wet track, I don't think that'll concern him, will it?
No, I don't think that'll bother him at all. I'm not a fan of getting muddy, but I think the horse will like it.
Gee, it was an effortless win last week. He's on the backup. But, Jamie, the little worry with a few might just be that wide barrier, but it looks like there's good speed in the race.
Be the spot to be.
And by that stage in the day, it might be a good spot to be, as Richo said.
Yeah, I was worried about the barrier slightly before I've seen all the weather they're getting, and I think the ground won't bother him, and it'll get me from that draw I'll be able to put him in a good spot, and hopefully it's the best part of the track by then.
Visually, when we watch some of these replays and what he's done, Jamie, it looks as though he's doing it easily. He's doing it like there's another gear or two. Is that the feel that he's giving you as well? Because, are the eyes telling the truth as far as that's concerned?
Yeah, no, you're definitely right, because last start I didn't need to give him a few hits, but I just did because his ears were pricked. He wasn't concentrating. He felt like he didn't get out of first gear still, so I just gave him a few just to try and wake him up, but I'd love to see him if he gets challenged, because he still feels like he's just cantering around in first gear.
A couple of things. Wide gates are good for the Doncaster. Most Doncaster winners draw wide. They stay out of trouble, don't get shuffled back. I just want to ask you about the weight. He's only got 50 kilos. Can you ride 50 easy, or do you struggle, or will you be over?
Yeah, no, at the moment, 50 is really easy for me. I'm 50 every day. I was actually looking forward to riding 49 in the Doncaster if I had to. So, no, weight's not an issue for me at the moment.
So what's the key to that? What have you been doing in particular to be riding so easily at 50?
Everyone's asked me that. I don't know. I used to be quite heavy. I was 56, 57 most days. And, it just dropped. It's, I don't know. I eat and I drink whatever I want, and I just have a lot of horses at home, show jumpers and ponies, and I just ride most days. And I can't give anyone the tip on what I do, because I've done nothing different, but it's working, so I'll take it.
Haven't you got engaged?
Yeah.
Couldn't that be it?
I'm very stressed. He's very stressful to be with. So
Maybe that's why you're like.
He gets more stressful too. So that's another Will.
Yeah, that's the Doncaster. Jamie, great opportunity in, of course, with Zardozi as well.
Oh, the filly.
She's obviously tackling the Derby, but on the back up, it looks a good recipe for her. And she's going to get through the ground. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, no, looking forward to her. I've got a great book of rides on the weekend. So hopefully they don't get too much rain and they just they go ahead with it, because I've got a great book.
Yeah. Shane, you've looked at the Derby. You know these horses pretty well from keeping an eye on them. I mean, for mine, Cap Ferrar's way over the odds at around 20-1. I think Tom Kitten might be, the danger. He can turn things around. He's a different horse, I think, at Randwick than he is at Rose Hill. But And Shane, do you think Riff Rocket might be a slight concern on a wet track at 2,400?
Yes, definitely, I do. Like, he struggled in the Victorian Derby, even though he ran it. He looks more to me at 2,000 metre horse. And if he gets a really heavy track, that's going to be interesting. Yeah. I'm not saying he can't win because he's got the ability, and his win the other day was outstanding, but I'd love to be on the filly. Gets the 2 kilos off the back, and we all know that the fillies and mares are just better than the colts and geldings these days.
Yeah,
and they still get 2 kilos off, and this was a good run the other day. Only thing is, Jamie, do you think that one more run would have really topped her off?
I don't think so. I think the ground, the trip's gonna. I don't think she needed another run.
During the Golden Slipper, Jamie, you were doing incredible things, staying in the saddle on Hayasugi, which nearly threw you out at the start, and then ran towards the rail and nearly threw you off there again. But you were able to hold on. While all that was going on, Traffic Warden up in front of you was running an unbelievable race. You would have watched the replay. What do you think going into the sires?
Oh, look, he was obviously in the race for the sires. He wants the trip. His win the other day when I rode him was just phenomenal, I thought, for him. He did work early and held on late. So I'm really keen on riding this horse on the weekend.
There he is, making ground in the Godolphin Blue up on the inside for those of our world audience that haven't followed the Golden Slipper. He'd gone from 1,400 metres back to 1,200 metres. The rail was the worst part of the track. He and Manal in the green and white were flashing late, and I thought both of them ran really well.
What's good as well, Shane, this year, we've got a lot of those horses out of the Slipper that are actually going on to the sides, and a number of them look really well suited too. So it's nice to see them not just put out, I suppose, after the Slipper.
Yeah, they do get that most years though, Clint.
Okay.
We've had a lot of horses try and win the Triple Crown. I think it's a great size. It's interesting, especially if it's really wet. Does Storm Boy? I've always said Storm Boy's a 1,400 metre horse, not a 1,200. But now you got a really bogged track at Randwick with the hill. It's more like a mile. 1,500, so it's even further for the young horses. But Jamie's got a great book of rides. She can ride 2 or 3 Group 1 winners very easy there on the weekend. I wouldn't want to swap her rides.
Okay, so in the sires, who would you like to ride, Shane? I mean, you've only won 6 of them.
Storm Boy.
Oh, think he can bounce back? Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, definitely. His run wasn't bad the other day, and he's looking for 1,400. If he's okay, he's going to be very hard to beat, and he'll be on pace. He'll tough it out. He's got gate 8, which is perfect, where he can miss the start a bit and just take his time to get there, especially on a wet track. He's the horse they've got to beat.
The TJ Smith, Jamie, you jump back on old mate Cylinder, who created such a highlight in your life winning that Newmarket. Now he goes back to Weight for Age, which is a test.
Yeah, I wish they'd let me carry 51 again on him.
Yeah.
But, I really thought he was just peaking that day, and he'd run really well at the Valley, and I think he was in the wrong part of the track, and maybe he was just missing me, I'm not sure. But I really thought he blew really hard when he won the Newmarket, and I thought he'd tighten up and improve, so I'm just going to go with that. I think he's, I wish I could carry 51 on him, but I think he's in with a good chance still.
Hey, Jamie, outside of that, you must be delighted with the way the whole autumn's gone for you. You know, so much success in those Group 1s, a lot of memorable moments, as you mentioned, but, you know, you're back flying again.
Yeah, it's I couldn't have scripted it any better. I was sure I was going to have a better year than last. It couldn't get any worse than last year, but the way it started, it's just amazing. That's just been a surreal few months.
And on behalf of all your Hong Kong racing fans, when will we see you in Hong Kong again, and will we ever see you there permanently?
Yeah, I'm not throwing it out the window yet. I really wanted to go last year for a few months. This year, obviously, just hasn't worked out, and I've been pretty busy, but I'd love to just try 3 months stint and then go from there. I love Hong Kong racing. It's just if I can bring a few ponies up with me, fuel my horses, I'll be up there.
We can work on that.
Well, we'll work on that because I know Terry Bailey will be desperate to get you there. We'll get Nicole Purton to organise all the pony stuff outside as well. You're going to have to take that rascal with you, though, Ben, as well. So what time of the year would that little 3-month stint best suit you?
Well, before I fell last year, I was going to go just after March. So for 3 months, that was going to work then. It didn't work this year, but that's probably the best time of year for me to do it.
There we have it.
Jamie, have you ever been to Bees River in Hong Kong?
Is that the horse joint?
Yeah, it's just, okay, so Bees River is just past the Sha Tin racecourse, 10 minutes, right? And it's where all the old horses are stabled and all the ponies. It's fantastic. There's hundreds of horses. You go riding every day. You can go through show jumping or through paddocks and everywhere, and they look after them. It's a proper school there, and
You're really
Nicole goes out there. It is. It's really good there. It's very good. It's
all right. I'll have to check it out.
Go and check out Bees River when you're there. You'll be mind blown.
In fact, yeah, I'll send you a link, Jamie, because Nicole Purton did a great story on Bees River, so you can have a good look at that story.
We've got it all organised. We've got your riding Group 1 winners. We've got you eventually getting 3 months in stint in Hong Kong. Mate, thanks so much for taking our call. Always a pleasure to chat to you.
No worries. Thank you, guys.
Well, Jamie Kah's got a wonderful book of rides. We've touched on her Group 1 rides, and I think she's a live chance in particular. I think Traffic Warden, Another Will and Zardozi are really the horses to beat, in my opinion. Cylinder can run an improved race, but is tested at weight for age. Good banter. Kintyre can run well. Commemorative will handle the cut in the ground that it gets in the Lucky Last. Hutch, we've done the form. We've looked at the Group 1s. Let's have a look at your selections for the 4 Group 1s.
Don't be shy if you like one of your Richo roughies as well to throw in. I think Lady Camelot, the slipper winner, can win. I think the Cornella's a great chance with Traffic Warden and Manal in the same race. So that's the way that I'm seeing it in the English Sires, the first of the Group 1s. She was great,
wasn't she? So 14 winners. 14 horses have won the slipper and the Sires double.
I can't believe Imperatrice isn't shorter. Don't worry about how wet it is. She's the dominant sprinter in Australia at the moment. Heavy track in New Zealand, she handled a 10 and swam through it. I think she should be a short price favourite. I think she's value there
I think
tomorrow.
Magic Time might be the roughie in that race to run really well.
Yep. Another Will for me. I think Jamie can win it, but it's a good race. Democracy Manifest, Detonator Jack, Celestial Legend in the Whirlpool. You know, you can bet in these meetings. You might want to, Cornella Place. You might want to take Cornellas with those numbers as well. You got anything else to throw in, Donnie?
Kovalika's a little sneaky roughie as well.
I think Jamie will win the Derby with Zardozi. I think, they're dodging Orchestral on the back up. 2 kilos, like Shane said. She's the one to beat. She's a very, very talented horse. So I think Jamie Kah's got a great book of rides, good chances in all of them. But don't forget, like I said, a race like the Doncaster with a Whirlpool, particularly Cornella's, some of those exotic type plays, which you can't get elsewhere, they're going to be very handsomely big, handsome dividends, I'd imagine, Shane. So it's always a good race, the Donny, and it is again this year.
Wet track, boys, lots of rain about, so do your form for the wet trackers.
Yeah. Have you got anything in the feature races, Shane, that's sort of caught your eye? It sounds like you like Zardozi a bit.
Zardozi I like. I think I've seen her on a wet track. She swims, and it's just for me at present in Australian racing, whenever you get the fillies and the mares racing the older horses or whatever, Golden Slipper, you only got to look at that now. Fillies win most Golden Slippers, whereas before steroids it was all colts and geldings. Now it's not, it's fillies. It's all changed the dynamics of fillies and mares compared to colts and geldings.
I can see that my producer's going to get me in a headlock and say, get to the tips, because our audience need the selections. Sha Tin Sunday. Let's start with race number 7 for Sha Tin on Sunday. We've got Group 2 racing. It is the Sprint Cup, and Lucky Sweynesse is back.
He's back, and I've got him marked $1.70 at the moment. Interesting to see what price he'll come up, but it looks a great race for him under the set weights and penalties conditions. And he's had some clear excuses on his last 2. How Deep Is Your Love? I've got around $8. I think he's the main danger. Flying Ace brings the same form line, and Lucky With You is racing well this season. I think he's around a $14 chance. But look, Lucky Sweynesse, they obviously went back to stay. I think they got the tactics wrong. But the format of the races worked out well. You got California Spangle, Huey back to 1,200 metres. He's on board. There's a lot of speed in the race, Shane. And look, I think as long as he's... he doesn't need to be positive, but as long as he doesn't sort of give away ground early and he can get a good run in the race, which I think he will from gate 7, Lucky Sweynesse really looks the horse to beat, and here is Hugh riding him in track work.
Definitely, I think. I've got him on top. I've got him winning. Did you see that story in the South China Morning Post, Clint? Someone wrote about Manford Man and the horse?
Yeah, I
What
did.
about?
I thought it was a little harsh. I was basically, questioning Manfred's sort of, I suppose, program with the horse. I think everyone's entitled to their opinion. Fair enough to an extent, maybe the Hong Kong Chief Executive's Cup, but comparing his program, I think, with a number of other trainers, like the likes of Red Lion, Beauty Eternal, there's got to be probably equal criticism of program of other trainers or their programs.
I mean, John Sires runs his as much as bloody that horse. I know that.
Yeah, well,
I thought it was wrong. I can understand where he's coming from, but what you got to remember, the bloke who rode it is English. They run their horses once a year, don't they, over there?
Yeah. Oh well, I think it was a harsh line to toe. And if you're going to take that, if you're going to take that view, that's fine, but. You've also got to, I think, throw a few other trainers into the same basket who are asking as much, if not more, of their respective horses. And to be perfectly honest, I mean, John Sizer's record and Pierre, no one runs their horses more than those two, and they're the two of the leading trainers in Hong Kong at the moment. So doesn't have a lot of substance with me.
Full stop. Flying Ace and How Deep Is Your Love are in your numbers.
Yeah, look,
why?
Zach rode to the pattern here, back to the inside on Flying Ace. He's got a short sprint. They always want him held up and just brought for that late run because he hits the front, and I think he does pull up. But How Deep Is Your Love, 3.5 kilo swing. Great run back and wide in this race. And, let's not forget, he beat Galaxy Patch a couple of runs ago, who's got extremely good form. Invincible Sages in the race as well. So I see How Deep Is Your Love, Shane, as the main danger, potentially, to Lucky Sweynesse. He's in rare form at the moment.
What about How Deep Of Your Love, how much it's improved since it's come back? Like he ran it for a Derby preparation, the mile, the 1800 or mile twice or 18, the classic mile, went no good, pulled, switched it straight back to 12. It's improved again in 3 or 4 lengths. It's flying. Yeah. It's going really well. Definitely, he's not as good as Lucky Sweynesse. We all know that, but I've got him running second. The horse that's interesting, I feel, is Lucky With You, Clint, because if you take that 1,400 metre run out last time, his 2 runs before that were sensational and really good. Now, last start, he didn't run the 1,400 the other day. Now he's coming back to the 1,200. He's got a good gate, 3. He's well in at the weights, obviously. He's not the worst. He can go to the next level in this type of race.
Yeah, it's a fair call. I just hope that... and look, we talk about Lucky Sweynesse in his season. He to me, hasn't been sort of, campaigned too long, but... His last 2 runs, clear excuses. J-Mac went back from the gate the other day. It was still a great run.
He wins.
And
if he goes
forward, I think he probably does win.
And the start
before, lucklessly, once again, it didn't work out for him. So I think he's had a pretty good season.
Do you know something, Clint? I've looked at all of his runs again. There's only one race he shouldn't have won. Only one. Every other race he should have won. His only race he shouldn't have won was first up against Victor the winner when he had 135 pounds against 113. It was a wet track and Zach looked after him. There were no excuses that day. Zach did everything right. That's the only race he shouldn't have won. You go and have a look at every other run he's had. He should have won every single start.
Yep.
And Victor the winner franked that form by running really well over in Japan.
Yeah, fantastic effort.
We move to the Chairman's Trophy, race number 8, another Group 2 race, this one over the mile.
Really competitive race here. Look, I think Beauty Eternal will be potentially shorter than what I've priced him in my early rated prices at 4.58. I think Encountered's right in the game. Both Encountered and Happy Together in an 1,800 metre race recently were desperately unlucky. I think Happy Together can measure up following an unbelievable season. And then we've got Beauty Joy in the mix as well, who's got close form lines, of course, with Beauty Eternal. Talking of which, this is the 9th start of the season for Happy Together as well. So he has been absolutely flying. Now, Beauty Eternal, this is the race that we've already watched once or twice, but I thought his run was excellent. Shane, he goes back to the mile. He wanted to lay in a little bit this day. We talk about one of John Sizer's flying in How Deep Is Your Love. What about Red Lion? I know there was a bit of wet track around this day, but he's another horse who's absolutely thriving. What did you think of Red Lion over the mile?
I think he's a query at the mile. I don't want to be on him, but he's racing well. He's Happy Together. He's flying the horse. He should have won his 2 previous starts before this at Happy Valley, I think they were. He was unlucky. He's done nothing wrong. Is he as good as Beauty Eternal? Probably not, but he's in form and he's racing very, very well.
His best speed figures this season put him right in this. He's in the game. He was good there because that was also track. It wasn't easy to make up ground. There was a bit of rain around that day. He's been fine in the line. Alexi rides him well. It's a little tricky from the barrier, but gee what, gee whiz, I tell you, he is absolutely flying happy together, and I think he can measure up under the conditions of this race, and I'm hoping they'll be able to have something on. And Encountered, as I mentioned, he brings similar form. I think Encountered's another horse for Manfred as well, Shane, that really starts to hit form towards the end of the season. That's what happened last season. He was absolutely thriving. How did you think Encountered would go?
Yeah, I thought he's been running in hard races, a little bit disappointing, but he has got the ability. The one I've put on top here, Clint, we haven't even mentioned, is Nimbus. He just keeps going to another level.
Yeah.
He's got gate 2. He's going to get the perfect run. And geez, he ran well the other day in that Group 1 2,000-metre race against the good horses. And before that, he won the Group 3 1,800. He's done nothing wrong, that horse.
Little query.
And we underestimate him.
Yeah, I have a few times, and I've had him there or thereabouts, but the reason why I was a little bit against him in this race, and you can tell me your thoughts, I just felt back to the mile. He doesn't have quite the turn of foot of a couple others, but like you said, he can probably position up well.
Yeah, no, that's true. I'm not disagreeing. He is, but he hasn't had a run since then, so he's a little bit fresh. What is it, a month or so? Over a month. It's 25th of the 2nd. So you're looking at 40 days, more or less, since a run. So he could be, and he hasn't had a trial, I don't think, in the meantime, has he? I have to check.
That California Spangle form reference we've shown a couple of times looks pretty good now, doesn't it? After the Alquaz, and also Galaxy Patch, some run in the Derby.
Yeah.
Some run in the Derby.
Awesome.
It was unbelievable. I've been talking to anyone at Moonee Valley Race Club to say the first and second across the line in the Derby, get them for the Cox Plate.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Galaxy Patch, I mean, we're interested to see where they go with him. I think it might be a clash with Golden 60 in the mile, but we'll have to wait and see.
Wait and see. I love when you cast your mind over and your eyes over the last, because it's always so competitive. Race number 10, Sunday afternoon into the evening. What are we doing?
I'm not massive on the 2,000-metre races as a general rule, because I think you can be a little bit victim of sort of pace and mid-race moves or things like that. But that said, this race to me, on paper, looks a race in 2. We've got Luminous, who's coming off two very good runs from a handful of starts, and a horse that I know Shane has a lot of time for and thinks is going to go on with it in unbelievable. I think this Derby form will stack up, Shane. Interesting to see what the market does, but I think those are 2 private purchase horses that really look destined to be going places.
Yeah, well, Unbelievable's Europeans form was one of the best we've got in Hong Kong. It was outstanding. And he wants 2,400. 2,000 is still a bit short, but he can win. I agree with you. I think it's a 2-horse race. The other horse, Illuminous, number 3, he's going from a mile to 2,000. But the way he's racing, you'd think that 2,000 is just going to suit him. And I've got it a 2-horse race also. But whatever Unbelievable does, when he steps up to the next race, the 2,400, with no weight on his back, geez, he's going to be hard to beat in that group race, Clint.
Yeah, what I was pleased about with him, 11.8, his final 200 off a good speed in that race. That showed me he's got a little bit of a kick there. Now, how that this race works out, I'm not sure. But Illuminous hasn't tried 2,000 overseas, ran second at Flemington over 1,700. I think 2,000 is perfect, nice barrier. That's why I've got him on top. But yeah, I expect that you might have to go the Quinella on the last.
Oh, mate, trust me. I've got quite an addiction to the Quinella at the moment, and it's been going extremely well. So that's Illuminous in the last. Very best bets for the weekend for Super Sunday. What are you doing?
Yes, well, we've got a couple of bets early in the card. One that we're sticking with. Ooh. We're going to stick with 80 Light Years. Gee, it was a tough watch once again following that last where he was nailed on the line, of course. But look, I think he's racing well. I think he can win. There's a Quinella with a horse called Gracious Express who's only had one start, and E-Legend, who was a good second to I'm a Single Man, who's run well since there. So I think race 3, 2 to win, and a Quinella 2 with 4 and 8. And then I'm switching over to Endeared, who I think is a great bet as well. He just had to go back from the wide barrier the other day. That's race 5, number 8, Endeared. I think he can win. I think he settles a little closer. Geez, going well, this horse. Ladies' Choice, bumped out the gates the other day. Read the steward's report regarding that galloper. I think he'll run well. And Champion Instinct, who's absolutely flying, I think, of the Quinella choices. Pretty confident in those 2 races, Richo.
He's up and about. Golden Boy, can you continue your red-hot form?
Probably not. I'll just leave it to Clint. That's okay.
Probably
what
not.
would I know? I'm nowhere near as good as James, so I don't know much.
He's holding a grudge.
I reckon he needs to build a bridge.
Actually, James and I are pretty close. We're really good.
Oh, I know you are.
He's a really, really good bloke. We don't have a problem, trust me on that. I've got full credit in race 6. He ran very well the other day. He led. He's got gate 1. He could lead or box seat. It looks a 2-horse race. Only other chance probably Ruby Lot, unless one of these first starters does something. But he meets the horse who beat him the other day, Lifeline Express, 6 pounds better, and he's drawn out a bit, Lifeline Express. So he might be able to turn it round, and there shouldn't be too much between them and bidding. So I'll go full credit.
Just a quick one on that debutant. You did mention a debutant. I always raise my eyebrows when I see Zach Purton on a debutant in Starman there. Do we know anything?
Well, Jamie Rich is, of course, trained and, shown a little bit of potential in the mornings. They had a first starter last week that made our Sid file and was a terrific run. But I thought Shane was brave going a best in that race. I think you'll get a backable odds anyway because it was a very competitive race.
He's always brave.
Well, you always get to go first, so you don't leave me any crumbs, mate. I'm just going to go with what's there.
It's like going out for a meal and, just get the scraps.
Starman Richo doesn't go too bad. He's had 5 trials and he's been all right. He should be forward from the gate 3. He's got a bit of gate speed. I haven't watched or don't know yet. I haven't had time to do his overseas form, his trials overseas if he had, so I can't comment about that. But his trials have been all right. They haven't been too bad, and he'll be forward with Zach on him.
Okay, well, we'll keep a little eye on him. Again, Golden Boy, apologies. I had to spend time with my mum last weekend, so I apologise I wasn't ready a part of the show, but I'm back now and I'm keen to continue on if you'll let me stay.
Mate, I find that very hard to believe because every time I switched channels last week, I saw your head, right? And I was so disappointed with Bruce McAvaney when he said all these stall gift winners and he was going on, great champions. He didn't mention you, mate. And I'm going, what about my mate Richo? He's the greatest of them all. There was Kathy Freeb and something else. What happened, mate?
Oh, mate.
He hasn't got over it.
I haven't got over it, and you've reminded me again. So, I'm going to go to a room full of mirrors, have a good look at myself. Great show, Golden Boy. See you next week.
See you, mate.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Well done, Hutchi.
Yeah,
good luck at
everyone.
hutchishonkers.com, the place to go.
Absolutely. Good luck on the weekend.